Hello and welcome to our 7th session, and in this session we are going to build the HTML interface, but we are not going to type any code, but we are going to use the Verge 3D puzzle to build it. So to start with it, now either launch Blender, you click on the app manager, this will open the Verge 3D app manager. And Sudhi in AR is the app that we are working on. Here you can see one edit puzzle option present over here. So when I click on this edit puzzle option, see you can see this is going to open with a window Verge 3D puzzle. And in this, the very first tab you have is the initialization tab. And if I come to this initialization tab, and in this on the left hand side you have various puzzle blocks available to you under different categories. So I will come to initialization and I am going to click on this configure application, and when I click on this, this gets added. In this I will switch off the default full screen. I will enable compressed assets. I will enable this. I will enable transparent background and fade. Now in the bottom you will have a save button. I will save this and I will play it. Sometimes you are not going to see the transparent background here, and to see it you have to refresh the page, and when I refresh the page, now you can see that I am seeing a transparent background. Now the next thing is, first I am going to build a web interface for this. Now as of now, if I come back to Verge 3D Manager and if I click on the Run App button, this app is now running. If so, I will come to the right here, and in More Tools, I will come to Developer Tools. When I click on Developer Tools and if I come to Elements here, you can see here as of now this has a head element, and inside the body you have one V3D container which contains our actual application. Now coming back to my Verge 3D Web Interactive, that is, I will come to this new tab, I will double click on the name and I am going to call this as interface. I will come on the left hand side and you have HTML tab here. I will click on this, and the very first tab I am going to use is this add HTML. I am going to click on this. I am going to come to HTML element, and in this link I am going to select the anchor tag. After selecting the anchor tag, I am going to give it an ID, an unique name, and the name I am going to give it is enter underscore AR button. I will give it the name as enter underscore AR button, and this will be added to the main container. Okay, now once I do it, I will save it, I will execute it, and now if you check the website, if I refresh and see it, now you can see that new anchor tag has been added with the ID enter AR button. I am next going to add an image. I will come back to my HTML here, click on this add tag, I will drag it down, and this time for this anchor tag I am going to add one image. I will call the image tag, and here for the image tag I am going to give it an name. I will call it as enter AR underscore img. I will give it a name, and this time this is not added to the container, but it will be added to this ID. So for this, what I will do is, instead of container here, I will come to the text block here, and I am going to drag a text block out. So I will click on this, I will drag a text block and I will mount it over here, and in this case I will copy this enter AR button and paste it here. So now this enter AR image has been added to it. I have to add a location from where the image has to be added, and for this we are going to set one property. In HTML, how do we allot an image the path? Using the source src attribute. So to add this attribute, I will come back to HTML and I am going to click on set property. I will drag it and put it over here, and the property I am going to set is src. So you have src here, and for this src I am going to duplicate this, right click, duplicate this text block. I will bring it over here, and for this, in my folder Verge 3D Sudhi in AR folder, you have one media file, and in this media folder, inside this media folder, I have this enter AR button. This is the image I want to allot here. So here I will give the path as media / say I will come back here and I am going to right click and choose rename, and I am going to select this name, copy it, come over here, and after media I will paste this, and this will be added to which element? To this enter AR image ID. I want this to be added. So now I have added a source. I will save this, and if I execute it now, you can see this enter AR image has been added. I doesn't want this image to be present here. I want this image to be at the center. I want this to come here at the center. So how am I going to move it to the center? To adjust its position, margin, everything, we use CSS, cascading style sheet. I will come back to my HTML here. You have this create CSS. I will drag it and put it here, and in the CSS I am going to give it a name as a class. Classes starts with point, period, and the name I am going to give is enter hyphen AR hyphen button. Remember, I am using the same name, but for ID I am using underscore, but for CSS class name I am using hyphen. So this is the way I am going to identify between what is an ID and what is a CSS class. I have to now start adding the rules, and to add the rules, here you have one settings tab. By clicking on this settings tab, I can start adding the properties one by one. The very first property I am going to add is the position property. So you have property here. I will click here, position. So position property, I am going to add it. So automatically you have position added here, and I am going to set the position to absolute. Then the next tab I am going to add here is, I will drag one more property here, and I am going to call this property. The second property I am going to call is display, and for this display I will leave it as block. Okay. Now the next thing is, I will drag it, and I want this AR enter to be above this image. It should not go behind. So for this, I will call one more property here called as z-index, and calling this z-index, now automatically you have z-index added here. I am going to set it to 1. Property I am going to add here is, I am going to set the background color. So for this, in the property, I will call the background color property. You have background color here. I will select the background color property, and here for the background color, I am going to type RGBA, and in open close bracket, I am going to type the values. Red is 255, comma, green is 255, comma, blue is 255, means it is white, but alpha I will set it to 0. When I set alpha value to 0, it means that the background will be transparent. Enter AR image is around 200 pixel wide. So for this, I will add one more property down here, and I am going to call this property now as width, and I am going to set its width now here to 200 pixels. And then I will drag the next property here, and I am going to now set height, and for this height I am going to set the value here. I will set this value for height equal to 50 pixel. Okay, then I am going to add a bottom padding of around 20 pixels. So for this I will type here bottom, and bottom I am going to add a padding of 20 pixel. Okay, then next I will drag this again here, and the next property I am going to set is on the left side. I will type left, and on the left side I am going to set a margin of 50%. And the reason I am padding it 50% on the left hand side, because if I set its left hand padding to 50%, it will come exactly at the center. So for that I have set the left value to 50%, and I will press enter. And next, after this I am going to drag this, and I am going to choose the option margin left. I will select margin left, and margin left I am going to set it to minus 100 pixel, because this is 200 pixel. I am bringing it exactly to the center. So on the left hand side I want minus 100 pixel margin, so that it will be exactly to the center. Next property I am going to drag here, and I am going to set the background size. I will set background size, and this background size I am going to set it to 100%. I am going to add next property. I will add it down, and the property here I will add is the cursor, because when I bring the mouse here I want the mouse to be a pointer. So in the cursor I will come here, and I am going to choose the pointer, and then I am going to add one more property here at the bottom, and I am going to call this as outline, and I am going to set this outline to 0. Okay, so now I will click on this and I will close this. So now what I have done is I have added a CSS rule. I will drag this down. These are the CSS rules that I have added. So after adding this CSS rule, I will bring it and attach it to the top. Now only thing is, this CSS rule has to be now applied to this enter AR button. So to apply this, I will next again select this set property. I will duplicate it, and now instead of src I am going to set the class name property, and the class name is this enter AR button, this enter -AR button. I will remove off this point here. Okay, I should not add the dot when I am using as the class name. So enter AR button, where it will be applied, this enter AR button will be applied to this enter AR button ID. So the difference is, here I am using hyphen and here underscore, and I am going to set this above, that is I will drag this down, and as soon as I add the HTML element, I will set the class name, then I will add the image, and then I will set its src. So after this, now if I save this and if I execute it, see now you have this enter AR button added exactly to the center. The next thing that should happen is, the application should check whether augmented reality is possible in the device or not. If it is not possible, if it is on a desktop computer or if it is on a device which has no camera, it has to tell AR is unavailable. And if AR is available and due to some reasons you cannot load the AR, means it should give an error message saying that could not load AR. So these are the warning messages that we have to add, and adding these messages we are going to do it in our next session.